Russia is claiming that there are nations conspiring to leak the conversations between Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska, asserting that there are efforts from other countries, hinting, like from NATO, that they don't want there to be a dialogue between Trump and Vladimir Putin himself. According to the report, Trump previously said Russia and Ukraine were close to an agreement. A ceasefire was announced, but at the last minute it became only a partial ceasefire, followed by ongoing back and forth. But the accusation, as always, is made without any evidence, without any direct comment. It's just left there for the conspiracy theories to take over. But without giving any concrete information, like saying, well, this government, this country is doing this, is boycotting the dialogue. But it could be that this will be the excuse for Putin to say, I'm not going to talk anymore, I'm not going to have a dialogue, I'm not going to go to Alaska because X country is getting involved or whatever. So it seems like there's already an excuse coming up, but we'll see, or maybe not. The point is that NATO uses creative accounting to supposedly meet Trump's spending demands. In other words, they fix the numbers so that Trump is satisfied when he presents his own numbers. They claim that a very prominent example has come under scrutiny after the summit about the new Italian bridge over the Strait of Messina. A long-planned crossing costing $15.5 billion will connect the mainland and Sicily, and that the Minister of Transport himself recently described as the largest infrastructure project in the West. They are studying the possibility of including the project in Italy's NATO spending. In other words, as if to say this bridge, just a regular bridge, is part of military expenses. Why? Because the bridge will be built with enough support to withstand tanks, to withstand armored vehicles, to withstand them. But it's just an excuse. It's an excuse to say we've already spent the 5% that the United States asks us to spend, that NATO asks us to spend, and are you really spending it on your own infrastructure? So that's their big trick, right? And if you read the fine print, you'll realize that a lot of that investment in weapons isn't really for weapons, but for bridges and other types of infrastructure, not necessarily related to war. And that's something I think will bother Trump later on. On the other hand, Ukraine announces the liberation of a town located in Sumy. According to what is known, the Ukrainian army today announced the complete liberation of a small town called Besalivka. That's a border area in Sumy. Let's check the map now. Look, this is the area that has been, well, they've tried to take Sumy a lot lately, but through what means? From the nearby small towns, right? So what Ukraine says is that, well, they've recovered a town called Vesnalivka, a border region. This is the border with Russia, this line right here. So a small town around here has also been liberated. The Ukrainian forces liberated and completely cleared the town of Vesnalivka in the Sumy region of Russian occupiers, according to what the General Staff announced. This was announced on their official telegram. Well, this is also part of the announcements being made by Ukraine. And let's move on to other important matters because, well, Ukrainian drones reportedly attacked the refinery that's approximately 2,000 kilometers away. There is more information and details now since there wasn't any at the start of this topic. There was an image. Let's see if we can have it here. There was an image, I think, let's see if we can get it. Is this the image you see? A drone. This one is approximately about 2,000 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. It's the drone there. We're seeing it in the center of the image. I'm sure they'll report it here. Drones of that type attacked the Russian refinery in Komi, roughly 2,000 kilometers from the border. I'm sure they'll report it. Ukrainian drones reached a refinery in Russia's Komi region, about 2,000 kilometers north of the Ukrainian border. That's also a very important issue and also a concern for the Russians because the attacks are increasingly spreading further beyond the border with Ukraine. By the way, this is another refinery, the one in Saratov, which was also affected in Russia. According to the reports, that's also part of the strikes that have been carried out against various Russian fuel depots. Check out this study published in the scientific journal Breast Cancer Research and Treatment, which claims that a single exercise session can activate proteins in the blood capable of fighting breast cancer. The experiments were conducted with 32 survivors who participated in 45-minute training routines, either resistance or high-intensity interval workouts. These routines increased the presence of what they call myokines, messenger proteins with anti-cancer properties. In the laboratory, these myokines reduced the growth of cancer cells by up to 30%. The researcher named Francesco Battariaga from the University of Pittsburgh in Australia stated these results are a great motivation to incorporate this type of exercise as standard care in the treatment of this kind of disease problem. So the advances would not only help, in theory, with this and other types of cancer. This is still being researched, so it's a process. But it's that interval exercise, the one with those very quick or very intense peaks, and then it goes down and up again, and so on constantly. The effect is immediate. 30 minutes after that exercise session, you could confirm that temporary peak of myokines. Even the triple-negative cancer cells, which don't respond to hormonal therapies, were affected after these exercise-induced proteins. The finding adds to a series of experiments and discoveries that show evidence that exercise could play a direct role in prevention and control of this type of cancer problems in general. Obviously, I insist these are developments, these are topics that take some time to be researched, right? At the end of the day, well, we go back to the same thing, right? To the basics, to the classics. Eating well, exercising, right? And exercise, something intense. Anything else? Notice that Einstein's Butler could come out and tell his own version of the events of what happened regarding everything that was going on around this person. His name is Balderson Vieira Cotrin, butler to Jeffrey Einstein for 18 years. And now, he would be breaking the silence in a forced interview, but there could be more to come. They say he managed Einstein's Paris house. He also claims the financier loved life too much to commit suicide. He doesn't believe he committed suicide or anything like that. He also questions the death of Virginia Giuffre, a key victim who accused Prince Andrew, suggesting that he also finds that suspicious. The statements revive the demand to release Einstein's secret files, which could implicate high-level figures, including Bill Clinton himself. Cortin appears in a photo with Clinton inside Amsden's private jet, a detail that generates even more controversy. He looks younger. He is Amsden's butler, taking a photo with Billy Clinton himself. Cortin also appears in different pictures with celebrities. He says that Amsden's partner was also a strict boss who handled the mansion's logistics. Do you remember that there were frequent visits from Prince Andres, always accompanied by bodyguards paid with British public money? He also denies having witnessed underage people being brought to that house in Paris. He says they weren't there, at least among the distinguished visitors he saw. He saw Woody Allen, Bill Gates, and more. But so far, he hasn't shared any compromising details. This could come later, since right now he says he's afraid for his personal safety. I mean, obviously, he's in the middle of a really tough situation. And this former butler of Epstein, right now, he doesn't want to talk much. He doesn't want to give all the details because he's afraid. He's afraid for his life. Obviously, well, that's how things are. We'll be keeping an eye out later to see what more information comes out about what could happen at this meeting between Putin and Trump. It's one of the most anticipated events for the 15th, if it even happens. Because it's supposed to be in Alaska, right? Meanwhile, we'll keep you updated on everything happening worldwide. Thank you very much for joining us for a while. We'll see you again a little later tonight. Astrid and I are here broadcasting. Now it will be longer and we'll stay to chat and talk with the whole community. A big hug. Take care. Thank you, by the way, to the whole community that supports us and to anyone who would like to support us, right? By subscribing, giving a like, getting a membership, or sending a super chat. Do you know how you can do it? Thank you for supporting this informative channel, an independent news channel, and, well, for international news. Big hug. See you later.